Call to order the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority meeting of Wednesday, May 2nd, 2012. Call the roll.
Call. Milka Clark.
Here.
Russ Collins.
Here.
Bob Gunzel.
Here.
Lee Gunn. Roger Hewitt.
Here.
John Ifcha.
Here.
Joan Lowenstein. Here. John Mowat. Nader Nassif.
Here.
Keith Orr.
Here.
Sandy Smith.
Here.
John Split.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Susan. The next item on the agenda is audience participation. And under our rules, we have 4 people allowed to speak for 4 minutes each. We've had 4 sign up today, so I expect that'll fill item number 2 on the agenda. But to remind you, we'll have audience participation also at the end of the meeting. So Ed, you're up.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Edward Vilmetti. I'm a citizen of Ann Arbor in the Lower Burns Park neighborhood. I rode the bus to come here today. It's a Commuter Challenge Month. I wanted to share with the DDA some experience visiting the city of Toledo and to sort of share some ideas that circle back to some ideas that I shared back in 2009, where there was a bit of a disconnect on some looking for information about real-time parking information and how to find a place to park in Ann Arbor. Toledo, I went to visit a Mud Hens game. Mud Hens games are usually very easy to park at because they're not usually full. And when they aren't easy, there's usually $5 lots that you can go to and someone will happily take your money. However, the Detroit Tigers were playing, and so they filled up all their lots, and I had to navigate by force of wits to find their farmers market, which had free parking, and we weren't really sure that it was free. So part of the challenge of parking in an unfamiliar place is just not knowing the lay of the land and having to navigate by force of wits to try to figure out whether the place that you're parking is illegal or whether that structure that you know about is full, or any of a number of other things that make you do some navigation on the fly. What was fascinating about Toledo was not any kind of fancy parking application that they had running on any kind of fancy phone thing. What was fascinating was the sign at the border that said, "Tune in to AM 1640." And at AM 1640, you tuned in, and it would tell you that how busy the roads were at that time. That to get to the stadium to get to downtown from the Michigan border would take about 9 minutes, and the Beltway on the south side of town was running at posted speeds. And this was playing in a constant loop as a utility station over and over again, so that every few minutes you got updated information about what was going on. This was a low-power AM station only that you could only hear in Toledo. It was licensed by the FCC. I did a little bit of research. Completely within the means of any municipality, including any public body like the DDA, to run a low-power AM station that would tell people just a little bit about what they needed to do in the downtown. It could tell them I know that MDOT's putting in traffic sensors, so at some point we'll have traffic information that's not really up yet. I know that the DDA already has parking information, so you could potentially broadcast out every 3 minutes to a channel that people could get in their cars without typing on their phone, something that would say all the lots have spaces available, or if the 4th and Washington lot is full, use the new underground lot, or the new underground lot is going to be opening on name your date. So I want to revisit some of the discussion that I had with this body back in 2009. Not so much about fancy things that only people with fancy equipment would have, but something that you could reasonably tune into from your car that would be able to do things. I've started talking with folks at the Hands-On Museum about low-power AM and low-power FM stations, and technically it appears to be feasible. This is probably a multi-year project if I know the speed of government, so this is just a trial balloon of saying, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could tune in to downtown Ann Arbor and and I'll leave any further inventiveness to some further meeting. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Will Hathaway?
Let's see. How do I get that? Do I need that? Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Will Hathaway, and I'm speaking on behalf of a group of Ann Arborites who are advocating for a public park on the library lot. To acknowledge our appreciation and support for the downtown public library, we're calling our vision the Library Green. We know that there are other potentially competing views for the future of the library lot. We also know that there are many people who have concerns about the possible negative impacts of public open space, particularly in the downtown. So let's look at the current plan for the street level of the library lot. This is the site plan for about 40 surface parking spaces that was approved by City Council. There were many who believed that this would not be built, that instead there would be a tall building, perhaps a conference center. This next DDA image shows how future development was and is anticipated on the library lot. You can see the possible footprint of a building, the blue, and the red outline indicates the location of the reinforced footings that would allow for an even larger foundation. Notice the plaza. This public space is part of the vision for the eventual development. However, it is largely lost from the current temporary plan. What remains is sidewalks on either side of Library Lane and a portion of Library Lane itself on those rare occasions when it will be closed to traffic. Oops, did I get... let's see. There we go. Oops, now it's going. I went too far somehow. Well, anyway. No, that's all right. I think I may have got the wrong slide in there, but that's all right. So our group would like the city to reconsider and move to create a public plaza now rather than waiting for some future development. Creating a plaza as originally envisioned would cut off some of the surface parking. In our view, the elegant solution is to shift the location of the plaza to the north. And that red outline that I've sort of superimposed on the DDA slide shows where that might go. Now this would create a real dedicated plaza that isn't contingent on a street closure. It would leave 18 surface spaces near the entrance to the underground lot and offer an opportunity for a real central square in our downtown. We recognize that it will take creative design to ensure that this plaza is a vibrant public space. Imagine an interactive water feature with kids playing and parents watching, an ice rink in winter, or how about an interactive piece of public art like the Cube on Regents Plaza? Some have said that the neighboring businesses need to take ownership of a downtown park, and we agree. There should be tables and chairs, as there are at Sculpture Plaza near the People's Food Co-op. I recently toured the underground structure, and I think it is very well designed. In some ways, it's even architecturally beautiful. It merits a better crown than a surface parking lot, and Ann Arbor deserves a true public square at the center of our downtown. Thanks.
Thank you, Will. Eric Lipson?
Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Lipson. I'm a resident of Ann Arbor and a former planning commissioner. And also, I come in wearing two hats, or three hats, besides being a resident. I'm also a member of the Library Green Advocates, as Will is, and also currently I'm the general manager of the Intercooperative Council, the largest student organization on campus, and we house almost 600 members in 20 buildings. And our offices are at 337 East William Street, so we're, as they would say, a stakeholder in this process. When I was on the Planning Commission, as you'll recall, there was the Calthorpe process, which was probably the most comprehensive planning process that the city and the community went through. There were a series of charrettes, and a plan was conceived and discussed. Obviously, they were rough outlines at that point. But one of the things that came through from the Calthorpe process, from the public that participated very clearly, was the need for a public plaza, a town square. I did a word search in the Calthorpe plan, and it mentions the word town square over a dozen times. And with the final drawings that were done in the Calthorpe plan showed a public plaza on top of what is now the library lot. It seems like that and the plaza that was originally planned, if there had been a conference center on this site, has been lost. And I understand this is an interim process and that not every detail could be worked out, but right now it appears that this would be a perfect time to revisit the issue of the public plaza. I'd like to say, first of all, that the DDA has done an excellent job on the Connecting William project. Amber Miller and Susan Polly have been very, very responsive, and the programs which the DDA has been sponsoring have been extremely helpful. The Campus Martius program recently was very inspirational, and I think that is something that we could use as a model, both the fact that it was a conservancy and many of the other things that they did successfully in an area which many people said it was impossible to do because of all the problems that the Detroit area has had. So as I'm saying, right now, this is a surface parking lot, as you know. One of the goals, which has been repeatedly stated also by the DDA and the Planning Commission and all the planners, is that surface parking lots are anathema to an active downtown. That's why we went with the underground lot. So as Will said very eloquently, it would make sense at this point, at least for an interim, to attempt to put something on that site that is more in tune with what the public wanted. The incremental expense at this point of putting some tables and chairs and benches at that site would be minimal, I believe. The loss of parking for those 15 spaces or so that would be lost would be minimal compared to the 685 spaces that are on Library Lane and the underground lot. So we think that it's time to reintroduce this idea so it doesn't get lost and discuss it in the process of the Connecting William Street. This may not be the final site, but it's certainly an opportunity for us. I know there also have been concerns about crime and panhandlers that's been raised, and that's a broader issue. We shouldn't sacrifice what has been a strong public desire for a town center on the concerns about the homeless. I note when I walk down the sidewalks of Ann Arbor, especially the downtown area, I'm approached more and more than ever by panhandlers. We all know this is a problem. It's a problem for the library, but no one is advocating eliminating sidewalks because it's a problem. We have to address this on we think, on a broader scale, and that's why we endorse the process, the Connecting William Street process that you've been conducting, and hope that you'll consider the plaza as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Is Ali Ramlawi here?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Hello, I'm Ali Ramlawi, as most of you might know already, owner of Jerusalem Garden, resident of the 5th Ward. I'm here because we've entered the 4th calendar year and the project on 5th is still incomplete. Parking garage next door to me. So I'm here to discuss you've heard me say before of all the problems we've had, disruptions in utilities, a 6-figure loss in income, forced evacuations, disruptions in deliveries, so on and so forth. My problem, another thing is, there's many problems, is just how the contracts were awarded. You got Chrisman, the contract, the general contractor, who then subcontracts the work that was done underneath them, which has raised eyebrows to say the least. The point I want to bring up mostly, though, is the original contract with Chrisman, as far as I know, didn't have any penalties for them being late. It wasn't written with any incentives for them to finish on time. It wasn't given any reward to finish on time. It's 1 year behind schedule, and no one's held accountable. I mean, who's losing out here? The business owners, the residents, the people who drive in downtown? I mean, where's the accountability, folks? I mean, no one's accountable. I've lost my shirt over there. Going to work every day is like going to war. I mean, I'm living and working in a construction zone for 3.5 years with little or no compensation other than parking. I mean, you've given me some parking stamps because you've taken away my parking. You didn't give me anything in return. You haven't made it whole. I'm not here for a handout, but I'm here saying going forward as a board with the awesome powers that you have, the awesome budget you have to do a better job at selecting and awarding contracts. I mean, this is unacceptable, what's going on here. Truly unacceptable. Unprecedented, unacceptable, and there should be some accountability. If this was the private sector, some people would have been fired. There's no way this kind of work would have been allowed to continue ongoing without any sort of penalty. I'd like to know. I'd like to know where's the penalty? You know what I mean? My neighbor has been burglarized twice. Where's the signage that was agreed to in the out-of-court settlement between me and the other parties, that there was going to be proper signage? Where is the signage? 4 years, no signage. You spent $1 million on wayward signs, and you have spent nothing on a sign for us. And it's over now. I wanted to come in and speak my piece while it's still going on, because in a couple months you'll have your little ceremony, and I'm going to take that day off so I don't have to puke over myself on July 12th. I won't be around. You know, you guys can have your little party. That's great. But it's caused me a tremendous amount of grief, angst, anguish. It's really killed a part of my soul working there for 4 years. I love my city. I've worked hard to build a business here. I worked hard to forge relationships. And the environment that I've had to suffer and work under for the last 4 years is completely it's unacceptable. I can't even pronunciate my words right now because of the emotions that it invokes in me. When I got to go to work every day and listen to those machines, the dirt, the dust, the porta-johns being cleaned in July 10 feet from my door with the smells and odors coming in. You know what I mean? This is just not fair. You know, it's not just one summer, one season. This has been going on for 4 years with complete indifference.
Thank you. That completes audience participation at this time. We'll have another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Next item is reports from city boards and commission. Ray Detter's up.
Well, first, you've got something in front of you. I want to invite all of the members of the DDA to our annual downtown potluck party on Thursday, June 7th, and urge you not to miss it. And the fact that it's a lot of fun is due to the fact that there are a lot of people there, including many of you, and we hope you're coming this year, too. I mean, last year we had over 200 people there, you know, and they're the sorts of people who all make a difference in the area downtown, so please try to make it. Last night, Will Hathaway and Eric Gibson also spoke at the CAC meeting, where we had a lively discussion of the issues relating to the future of the library lot. And we agree with them that a plaza space has always been and should be a part of any planning for the future of the top of the underground parking structure. It's always been there. It's been back there ever since the Luckenbach-Ziegelman plan over 20 years ago. It was there in exactly the same place that it was contemplated in terms of the current situation. We also agree that there should be a clear-cut process in the future for members of the community to make use as much as possible of Library Lane for a gathering place. And I've heard you discuss that, and that is a part of the future plans with regard to the nature of that area. At the same time, we reaffirmed our long-held commitment, it's a very strong one, to the development of a new tax-producing private development on the major portion of the underground structure. And that's always believed in there. We've always believed that, and we believe that that can be done at the same time that we do have a plaza in the future on that site. Whatever we do on the library site should relate to and be a positive benefit to the Ann Arbor District Library And we know that that's a challenge. I mean, and the questions have to be answered if there is, in fact, anything that does challenge the nature of the future of that library. The new Blake Transit Center and public transportation should be carefully integrated into the new development, the future plaza, and Library Lane. And I attended the meetings with regard to the Design Review Board. At this particular point, unfortunately, the Blake Transit Center hasn't clearly thought out all of those issues, and we hope that they will be thinking those out in terms of the final approval of what they put on that particular site. To whatever degree possible, future developments should support direct pedestrian connectivity of planned plaza space and new construction to the Blake Transit Center, to Liberty Plaza, Liberty Street frontage, historical elements, the Kempf House, Noble House and its carriage house and nearby historic district, to whatever degree possible. And that connectivity with regard to whatever the plaza is on that site to the Liberty Plaza, we hope is going to be something for the future of that whole block and for the downtown that will be very positive. And of course, public art wherever we can get it. Of course, that's planning for the future. And all of these things we feel are essential to the future development of the library lot. And we believe will have a positive impact on the future vitality of the downtown. We want to be sure in the process, however, that nothing, including temporary parking, should be planned on the library site that would permanently slow down or conflict with permanent development of a site that includes the possibilities that I've mentioned. And I just want to say in closing, that last night we discussed the nature of what the DDA is doing in its partnership committee. We want to congratulate the DDA's partnership committee on the very careful way in which they are developing a DDA policy, and I'll quote here, policy regarding grant requests for brownfield or other state of Michigan programs requiring local match. And we've read it. Although this process was stimulated by 618 South Main project, a project, as you know, we strongly support. We're confident at this particular point that the DDA is moving in the direction of developing a consistent policy that will be fair to all future applicants and stimulate other private tax-generating new developments in the downtown. You're going in the right direction, and I think there may be some changes that have to be made in that, but it's the kind of direction that we want. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Any other reports from city boards and commissions? Seeing none, communications from DDA members? John?
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on a couple of our speakers. Panhandling was mentioned, and I just wanted to note that there's a new focus and a new program being announced from the Mayor's Downtown Marketing Task Force. Councilmember Lowenstein, Councilmember Briere was with us today, has been participating in that. Susan's been helping to guide that, and Andy Labar of the Chamber has been organizing that, where the merchants associations come together. And you're going to start to see new posters around town that talk about how you can best not contribute to a panhandler, but instead, Susan's probably going to grab one, give to an organization that's going to assist those people in the community. Also, we're adding police positions this year, not following through with our budget that was projected. Yes, she's got some posters for you. And so that we will be, and we're pretty much getting there right now, backfilling the 10 people who retired, hiring one extra, and also bringing on 5 new, what we're going to call part of the recruit program, members who will be mostly dedicated to downtown, because one of the issues we have is some aggressive panhandling in the downtown area. But I also want to point out that for what we know about the panhandling population, they are not homeless. And most people refer to them that way, but some of the most active panhandlers are definitely not homeless. But the Mayor's Downtown Marketing Task Force would also be a good place for us to plan a future meeting to talk about the issue that was brought up by Will and Eric today. And I just wanted to perhaps frame that issue a little bit for you. At the next council meeting, there'll be a presentation. The city's received a FEMA grant to take the buildings down at the city's property down on North Main, and we have a real push on to get the old houses across the street and the future Avalon development cleaned up, to get the buildings off of there. And then we're going to be pursuing a Natural Resources Trust Fund grant to make that site, which is mostly in the floodway, the first of the Greenway Parks, with a linkage across Main Street, under the railroad tracks to the border-to-border trail. So that is the initiative that we'll be launching, and staff is going to be investing time in planning that. The county has agreed tentatively to participate in making the match for the Natural Resources Trust Fund grant, because this will meet up with the border-to-border trail. So a new additional large park property that the city already owns and really needs to do something with. We certainly don't want to contribute to blight on that site. At the same time, I've been working with members of the community, the Greenway Task Force on the 415 West Washington site. We haven't made as much progress there, mainly because of the condition of the old building. But by council resolution, that will too be a Greenway Park. Something else that's going on with parks that may seem remote for the DDA, but I'll try to bring this back, is the cleanup work that is going on the DTE site right adjacent to the Argo Dam that is also going to be fronting on the new whitewater features that we've held off putting in. If you haven't been down to see what's going on in the parks there and the linkage between Argo Pond and the river, you should check it out. We have a dedication coming up here in about a month. But it is our hope that when that's cleaned up to an acceptable standard, that too will become a park. So I think that as people want to begin to talk about another plaza downtown, they need to address what is one of the major issues is going to be how to maintain. The Parks Administration Commission would tell you, Advisory Commission, I'm sorry, would suggest that they are pretty much at their limit of being able to maintain parks at this time. And since the city already owns the site on North Main, and since the one on the river is one that the city has wanted for 40 years to be cleaned up and added to the park system, those are going to be first in line. And the Greenway parks have been in the mix for a long time and building out the Greenway. So the capacity to build and care for another park is going to be stretched. So I would like to just recommend that the folks who are working on this issue take that into account and begin to think about how money will be brought together to develop a park, and more importantly, how it will be maintained and how it will fit into the competing interests of what I can see in the next few years, at least 3 large new parks coming into the city that are all going to require maintenance and planning and development and whatnot. And I think that's going to reflect on this issue. And at the same time, the plaza that we do have downtown, the Liberty Plaza, I'm going to be recommending to the Parks Advisory Commission that they take up on their longer-term plan how to reform that park, how to redesign that park, because there are some design flaws there, that it becomes a more active center instead of one that so many of our residents try to avoid. Even though we've taken strong steps there to get rid of the crime there, we've come a long ways on that. It is still, for many citizens, not a pleasant place, although I enjoy going to Liberty Plaza myself and enjoy going there and having lunch. And now we're going to be opening it up for Sonic Lunch and all of those events. It needs a redesign. It's too low. It needs to be able to have eyes looking into it. We're very fortunate the First Martin Corporation cares for it. And that's a very nice philanthropic venture on their part. But again, this all fits into larger issues. It's going to concern the Parks Advisory Commission. It's going to concern the DDA. And that parks maintenance one and the development of the Greenway parks and the new one on the Huron River are going to be foremost in what is going on over the next few years. So it's going to be a challenge to work all of these issues that we have on the table now into the mix.
Other comments from board members? Sandy?
I would just like to follow up with the Liberty Plaza piece, and I think very much that the Connecting William Street should have that on the radar as well, and in some of the public dialogue about what we do with that. It's within the boundaries of the areas that we're looking, and to have 2 parks, to try to maintain 2 parks and activate 2 parks in the same block seems to be a difficult chore. So I'd like that to be part of the discussion that we have.
Okay. Other comments from board members? Okay. Approval of minutes. Will someone move approval of the April 4th, 2012 minutes?
So moved.
Second, third.
Any discussion, comments, corrections, additions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They're approved. Subcommittee reports. Who wants to go first? Roger?
Yes. If you'll turn to page 5, we have the financial statements for the 3rd quarter. And I will go through these, get the highlights here. If we look at the first category, our TIF financial statement, this is through the first 3 quarters of the current fiscal year through March 31st. Our TIF income we anticipate now will be about $200,000 below budgeted amount of $3.9 million. It will be closer to $3.7 million. All our TIF revenue is in. The drop is, as far as we can tell, primarily due to changes in personal property, not changes to real property. In other words, the equipment, furniture, and fixtures that businesses buy that depreciate rather quickly, and that is a number that fluctuates quite a bit. Operating expenses, we are anticipating will be about $250,000 below what we had originally budgeted. Primarily fewer use of professional consultants and some lower administrative expenses. Capital expenses, although we've only spent about $45,000 year to date, we still anticipate we will be right at about $1 million at the end of the fiscal year. This is payments on the 5th and Division, sidewalk improvements, streetscape improvements, as well as a portion of the library lane parking structure. And again, a lot of this has to do with when invoices come in and a timing issue. So overall, we were budgeted for a deficit of about 1.9 or 1.5 million. We're looking at about 1.44 million, or about $56,000 better than we had anticipated as things look right now. Again, as I've mentioned a number of times, during years when we are not doing construction, we build up fund balances so we have cash so we can do major projects as we are in the middle of right now or toward the end of right now. So we are showing deficits because we are paying down, we're using our built up fund balances to do these projects. Moving into parking, next category. We are anticipating nearly, at the year end, nearly a $17 million revenue out of the parking system, or about $800,000 more than we had anticipated. This is, we had already budgeted in the rate increases into the budget, so this is due almost entirely to increased demand in the system of nearly 5% in revenues over budgeted. And as we'll see when we get to the parking report, we are continuing to see very strong demand for parking and strong growth in the parking system. And quite frankly, we are very fortunate that we are having the library lane parking structure come online when it is, because we are at capacity, certainly in the campus areas and also at the Ann Ashley parking structure. We need the additional capacity because the demand has been growing at such a rate for the last 6 months to a year. Operating expenses actually anticipate being up a little bit overall. At year end, we still anticipate being a little bit higher. I got the operating expenses. That's the bond payments, capital expenditures. Again, this is has to do with the timing of invoices coming in on the parking structure, and that's going to vary a lot, but we think we're going to be very close to what we budgeted. Direct parking expenses are Republic Parking operating expenses, as well as the 17% of gross parking revenues that we pay to the city as rent. We're actually anticipating our expenses to be over $800,000 lower than anticipated. A lot has to do, again, with Republic Parking doing a very good job of belt tightening and being very efficient in their operations. I'd like to commend Art Lowe and his staff are doing an excellent job of keeping our costs in line in the operation of the system. So overall, we were anticipating about a $300,000 budget. It looks like at the moment, we look like we will be close to $1 million positive in the parking system. Parking maintenance, we put in a little over $2 million, which has gone in, so we're right where we anticipated being. We have not spent money on maintenance that we normally had budgeted, at least to this point. With the construction of the parking structure, we wanted to be very careful about spending money And as we've said before, we are so far ahead on our preventative maintenance in the system that we were able to scale back without any concern about the structural integrity or the long-term durability of the system. So we're being conservative by not spending a lot of money on parking maintenance this year. But again, we've been able to do that because of all the actions we've taken in the past few years. So overall, we're looking at between in parking maintenance of about $1.6 million under what we had budgeted. Money is still in the fund to be spent in future years as needed. Housing, only income in housing is from interest income, and although we had budgeted about $500,000 for the Avalon grant for the Near North project, that project has not yet gotten underway, and I believe the grant requires that we pay it after they have their certificate of occupancy. So we are $500,000 under budget there because we will not be paying that grant in this fiscal year. It has been rebudgeted to a next fiscal year. If we look at on the next few pages, you can look at our fund balances. The TIF has a little under $6.5 million in it. Our housing fund has a little over $1 million in it. Parking fund has just over $2 million in it, and the parking maintenance fund has about $1.8 million. And it gives us our total fund balance is $11,444,000. So we are still, although we are still paying that, drawing on that fund balance, and that will certainly be going lower as we finish the 5th and Division project and the Library Lane parking structure. We still have a significant amount of cash to finish those projects. So, questions that I or Joe, more likely Joe, will be able to answer. Okay. Move on to the parking report, which is, I believe, on get the right page. 16. Open my copy here. Yes. 15. Actually, there are several because it's the quarterly report. Highlights in March. Again, as I've mentioned, strong increase in both in revenue through increased use. We've shown a 13% increase in revenue over the same month, over March a year ago. Part of that is rate increase, but which would be about in the 6-7% range would be the amount of that that's related to increased rates. But the balance of another 6 or 7% is just increased demand in the system. As I mentioned, we are fortunate that we have the structure coming online when we do, because we are certainly, particularly in the campus area, reaching capacity in the system. On page 16, third quarter, which is even stronger than March. Again, a 15% increase in revenues over the same third quarter in 2011. And with also increase in hourly patrons, or basically people that pull the tickets, going through the structures of the surface lots of nearly 4%. And again, a similar story if you look at the whole 9 months of this fiscal year, revenues up 11%. And hourly patrons up 4%. So as we've been trying to get the message out, clearly the demand in downtown, the number of people coming to downtown is showing a very strong increase. And that's both visitors, workers, students, the whole range, but there's clearly a lot of increased activity in downtown that's showing up through the parking system.
Questions of Roger on the finances and parking report? Do you want to talk about the proposed resolution then?
Yes, sure. We have a resolution that the committee would like to bring to the board on page 18. Page 18 here. And I would like to move the resolution for the committee.
Second.
And moved and supported.
Okay. Certainly the committee, which also encompasses transportation and construction, has been focusing on the construction and completion of the underground parking structure, the Library Lane structure. And we haven't been paying as much attention or had time to pay as much attention to our parking demand management initiatives that we have been talking about for a number of years now. And as we get closer to the opening, we're sort of catching up a little bit and looking at what we can do to use incentive. We looked at both incentives and sticks to try to even out the usage within the system. We've thrown around some ideas of incentives to monthly parkers rather than forcing people to move from structures that are in high demand to structures that are in low demand, of using incentives. And we have a number of ideas floating around on this, of ways to relieve some of the parking pressure on the campus structures, the Forest structure, the Maynard structure, and the Liberty Square structure, and move some of those people into the underground structure and into the 4th and William structure, which are, of course, the underground structure will be brand new, and the 4th and William structure is probably the only structure in the system where we have excess capacity right now. So this resolution authorizes the Operations Bricks and Money Committee to utilize demand management strategies and adjust monthly parking permit rates to expand campus area parking in a broader expanse. Essentially giving the committee the authorization to go in and alter rates to try to even out the demand in the system and implement demand management strategies. And be glad to answer questions.
Newcomb?
Fourth and William, it's not on here, so I'm wondering, it
Well,
falls in some sort of boundary, and I'm wondering why not?
Well, we're still talking about what those strategies will look like. We've been talking about them in committee informally. Certainly, so we're not looking at what will we do in every particular structure right now. We're going to leave that to the committee level. Certainly.
So calling out the boundaries, I guess the question is why have a boundary?
Why?
In so much as the whereas, it's move it 2 blocks west, the new Library Lane structure.
Yeah.
Why not just go and look at the whole system and do what you need to do?
Well, that's what we're going to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the intent.
I just didn't understand what the boundary was.
We got this resolution in the middle of graduation week, which didn't give me a lot of opportunity to read it over and all the whereas.
As long as there's no subcontext to it.
There's no subcontext. We're going to look at all the monthly parking throughout the system, which will really encompass these 6 structures.
Other comments or questions? Sounds like we're ready for a vote. All those in favor of the resolution say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Thank you, Roger. John? Construction?
My construction update will again be brief and not much different. The work continues on the interior of the garage, finishes, mechanicals, and those are being worked on, completed on schedule. I think the most exciting part of things is that backfilling on the plaza level is going along very nicely. Waterproofing is almost complete. Backfilling over the bridge section, which is what allows us to reopen Fifth Avenue, is just about complete, and I just walked by on my way here. Curbs are beginning to be formed on Fifth Avenue, so we are still on schedule to reopen Fifth Avenue by the end of this month, and still on schedule to open the garage by, at the latest, I'm hoping, Art Fair. So schedules are being kept, and the end is near.
Questions? John?
at least those at home don't think we're taking on sponsorship, do you want to explain the car behind us?
The car behind us is part of the garage's wayfinding system. The wayfinding system will use both colors and 4 different automobiles to identify floors. The folks on the wayfinding committee thought that the car theme would be appropriate and would again be very help people very much find and remember which floor they're parked on in an underground structure. So, I think that the committee did a good job of choosing the various models. So that's a mock-up of one of the wayfinding signs.
Very cool.
Other questions of John? Comments? Susan, anything to report on transportation for John Moat? Nancy?
Well, why don't we have Nancy come and talk about commuter challenge?
Okay.
That's okay. Thanks.
Hi there, you heard Ed Vilmetti, who is a part of Nutshell, talking about our commuter challenge, and that is happening this month. It is a commuting competition between businesses all throughout Ann Arbor to try to learn about alternative commutes, both in the downtown as well as U of M and throughout Ann Arbor. This year we have a record number of businesses and organizations participating. We're at about 270 businesses and over 3,000 people who have signed up. And yesterday we did our first kickoff Green Commute Day, and we had 16 businesses submit photos of themselves doing green commutes, including Quinn Evans Architects, Nutshell, who won, a couple of U of M departments, the US EPA emissions testing lab, who is on Plymouth Road, and they're always really dedicated to doing this. So it's a really exciting event. We're having a great time this year, and every week of the challenge, it's all throughout the month of May, has a different theme. And one of the most exciting things we're doing is a Bike to Work Week. During that week, we're going to be doing a Bike Bash evening event at the Ann Arbor Farmers Market on May 18th, which should be really fun. And we'll be promoting all that information all throughout the challenge. So you can go on our website to get more information, and anybody can still sign up throughout the month of May. And some of the organizations that are already signed up, in addition to the ones I mentioned, the city is signed up, the Arbor DDA is participating, all kinds of businesses downtown, Arbor Brewing Company, Zingerman's Deli. So it's a competition that benefits everybody, and I like to say no matter if you live 2 blocks or 20 miles from work, you can participate in the commuter challenge by doing any sort of commute from walking to carpooling to telecommuting. So it's a great time of year. The weather is supposed to be 85 tomorrow, so that's not an excuse. And if you want more information, you can just go to our website, getdowntown.org. Thanks. Oh, and I wanted to also mention that the DDA is sponsoring our Bike Bash, which is happening on May 18th, and you guys are generously donating uses of some of the parking spaces. We're going to turn them into valet parking, and we're also going to be blocking off a portion of that lot for free ride bike demonstrations. So we've got the guys that have the bike ramps. They're going to do all kinds of jumps and turns. So I thank you, and Susan Polly is going to be at the event, and hopefully the mayor as well, to help promote cycling in Ann Arbor. We continue to have more and more interest in it. And you'll see that as well as the on-street bike racks that just got put in. So thank you for your support.
Susan Polly will not be doing the jumps.
I don't know. That's what I thought she'd do.
I don't know.
Man, I'm disappointed now.
We'll announce our next committee meeting.
Go ahead.
Okay, I will announce. Our next committee meeting for Briggs County Transportation is Wednesday, May 30th at 11 a.m.
That's 1 week different than usual, I think.
It must be.
May
We
30th.
have many,
Yeah,
we have many Wednesdays.
There's 5 Wednesdays. Okay. Partnership Economic Development Committee. Sandy, you going to lead off there?
Sure. As Ray Detter likes to beat me to the punch, we left you all talking about 618 South Main, and we're coming back talking about a brownfield policy instead. At this point, it really, looking at the project made us take a hard look at the reasons why we would participate in the project at all, some or a lot, and we really felt that we were struggling with creating a precedent, and we wanted to make a pretty strong policy statement that would that we would be pleased to honor with this project and anything subsequent to that. And so after looking at this project, it gave us something to kind of bounce some policy ideas off of, and we had several meetings of partnership and subcommittees of partnership over the last month. And I'd like to walk you through on page 19. This is not in the form of a resolution to bring today, and we will take that up again at partnerships, but I would just, I'm looking for board-wide feedback on this, as certainly you all were not present when we were crafting this. But it really starts out with the mission, the vision, and the values of the DDA, and that any project is going to have to fit within those parameters. There's no point in us supporting a project that doesn't meet the values of what it is that we're trying to promote and the work that we're trying to do with the Connecting Williams Street and that sort of thing. We're talking about common features of downtown that we find important, and any project needs to support that, the DDA and the DDA development plan components as well. So that sets forward their values like walkability, sustainability, mix of downtown uses, and supporting downtown Ann Arbor's unique identity. If we go down to 1, 2, 3, 4th bullet, we have outlined very clearly that we want the project to be designed to encourage or trigger other private tax-generating new development in the immediate vicinity. And it can be defined as nearby properties that are within the DDA district, privately owned, not located in a historic district, and have not had significant public or private investment in the past 10 years. If it is something that they're asking for streetscape improvement in an area we just did, for instance, it's not as likely to have grant money. So if we've just done the work on 5th or Division, it's not likely to get a contribution back to us for that sort of work. It will not ever be for us to forego the TIF capture, but it will always be a grant. The TIF capture will be used as a formulaic approach to define a grant, but it will never be just forgiven. Some of the reasons why we would do this is because there are state funds available, and this allows the DDA to leverage the opportunity to get state funding back into our district. We will invest only in eligible infrastructure improvements that would be on the state-defined list. That will also have
federal. I mean, state or federal.
I don't know if there are any federal.
That's a good point.
Projects. I don't know if they invest in these sorts of things.
There are a few federal programs, but they're not focused really on the urban revitalization like the state program that we're talking about.
But this is a general policy, certainly.
This is, and we were fairly broad in our title and description, and I think that if we needed to use this to leverage federal funds, then cool. Right? Let's see. Specifically for the larger public good, streetscape improvements, furniture, street furniture, upsizing utilities like water, storm, sewer mains, things like concrete pads for new trash compactors, transformers, some of the true infrastructure work that the developer kind of ends up being on the hook for, and this will be a charge that will be shared for multiple projects, or fire hydrants. When contemplating how to calculate this, it would be no more than 25% of the total TIF captured for the project for over 10 years. And it will be paid out over time. It won't be a lump sum, and the DDA would like to reserve the opportunity to frame what that payment is based on what our 10-year schedule looks like and what other projects we have going on. We also have a clause in here about what happens if the project is transferred or sold, and that we have a sunset clause that is on the grant. And then finally, one more disclaimer that we have the opportunity to get rid of this policy at any time that we need to. So I welcome the feedback now, and later we will bring this up at the next partnership meeting. And then when we have this in place, we will be, I think, much more comfortable in going back to the 618 South Main and say, what does it look like when we run it through these parameters?
Questions? Joan?
One of the things that doesn't seem to be mentioned in here, and it's a detail, but maybe it will be later, is the timing of when someone requests this kind of grant.
We had a lot of discussion about that, and we talked about it being, we really wanted it up front, and then some discussion said we really wanted it at the end. We want everything else in place. And what we decided was that we really didn't want to be a partner in the development. That's not our role.
Okay, that's the question.
Yeah, we kind of sorted that out as that really didn't feel like that was we don't want to be at the table in the negotiations of price and terms and look and feel. What we want to do is say, does this project meet the values and the mission, the plan of the DDA, and is there a way that we can help leverage state funds with our grant?
Roger.
Sandy, as you know, you and I have been through a number of different incarnations of a TIF benefit package, and I think a lot of the concerns of mine are addressed in here. Clearly, one of the biggest is that the subjectivity that we've run into in the past, picking projects because some people liked them or some people didn't like them, and trying to get rid of as much subjectivity and make it as clear-cut as possible. Clearly, that being only used for match for state-eligible funds is, I think, a very critical part of it. Also, that it be only for public infrastructure, not for infrastructure for the project, that we are not supporting a private developer's expenses in actually building the project, but are putting money into public infrastructure that may help support that project as well as other projects in the area. And I want to be very careful that we are not, and I believe this is addressed in here, that we are, whatever that grant amount ends up being, 25% of the estimated total, that we're not paying out more than we get. Because we've certainly seen projects that are, cost a certain amount, fail, and then the assessment goes down on them as well as our TIF goes down on them. So we want to be careful that we're not committing ourselves to paying out more money than we're actually going to get, so that we follow those guidelines. But I think I think you've addressed most of these in here. Maybe might need a little tightening here and there, but and clearly then trying to get it as objective as possible and as remove as much subjectivity from the grant as possible. I would be able to support something like this.
The way that this is based, and it's with the county's brownfield program as well. Certainly, none of this would be paid until the taxes had been paid. I think that allowing us to define how it gets paid will always be less than the taxes that we capture for the year, so that we're never in a position of being ahead of what's been paid through the city to us.
I recognize that, but if we were paying out want to pay out 25% of the taxes over a 10-year period, and they're estimated to be X to begin with, and then because of what may happen with the project during those 10 years, the value goes down, and we're where actually our 25% then becomes significantly larger. I think we probably need something to protect ourselves against something like that.
A clause that caps it at, though it's based on an estimation, no payouts will ever be more than that 25%.
Yeah.
Isn't 25% in and of itself a pretty safe?
But
sure,
it's,
but
right.
It's
right. It's the estimate.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I don't think we'll end up paying out more, but conceivably you could say it's going to be 25%, and if the project fails and gets resold a couple times, it could end up being 50% instead of 25%.
But away from what you were saying about paying out more.
Yeah.
Paying 50% as opposed to 25 is more than you anticipated, but it's not more than you actually collected.
Correct. But I would probably like it to be not more than 25% of what we actually got.
And again, we have the flexibility here to pay it out sooner than we actually gather it, so that's where the problem could arise if we're actually paying it out on a 3-year schedule based on tip for 10 years. Then theoretically, we could have a problem.
Sure. Well, it's a valid point, and the committee will definitely review that when we chew on this again next week.
I did, and I look forward to chewing on it one more time. I'm still, and I think that the question for everyone is the 25% over 10-year cap enough in terms of our actually making a difference in the project? And that's a conversation I would like to continue to have at committee.
The question is whether it's enough to leverage the other money. So.
Right. And just in reflection, some of the time we did spend reviewing significant projects and projects that we've granted these funds to in the past, and the Liberty Lofts project was our most significant one that has been built, certainly over the last 10 years, and that was at about 17% of the tax over 10 years. So taking all that into account, what is that number? What is, is it 25 too high or is it too low? And that's something that we need to address. Did you have something?
I just wanted to sort of emphasize that a couple of the points Roger made, that by making it as objective as possible, we're not picking winners. Rather, we're looking at a way of being able to fit our mission of public-private partnerships. And especially that idea of the infrastructure, over and over again. This is what this board, I think, this organization does more than anything else, is provide infrastructure, because we look at a longer-term thing. And I believe that this also, the great thing about this is what you put in at the beginning about how things that will help spur other development. Because, of course, looking at infrastructure is a way of being able to say not one developer has to pay for what then people further down the line don't have to pay for. That it becomes a good use of public money.
First off, I'm really happy that we've been able to continue to be creative, and even in times where we think we don't have any money, and we're, certainly appreciate the petitioners and their patience with the sausage making, but it's what partnership has always been about. Sometimes it's a little bit easier for us to be flush with grant cash, but I've really enjoyed the process, and it's all been very, I think, positive and generative, and as other people think that we are a board that can't ever get anything done, I think, continue to prove that that's not to be true, and maybe we don't always make everyone happy. That's impossible. Maybe we don't get it right the first time. Also impossible. I've really enjoyed the process, and I know it won't be perfect, but I also know that as a group, we always pick it back up and keep shining it up. So I like it, and I like that many of us had some fears, myself included, that the next few years were going to be nothing we could do and nothing that future boards could do because we've done this agreement in the deck, and I've been pleasantly proven wrong by our will to just continue to try to help, even when it's not as easy as it used to be. So I'll just thank you very much.
Russ? I just want to say I find Newcomb's positive and optimistic attitude completely inappropriate.
I don't like your haircut.
So, just to take over from where Newcomb used to be, we've constructed ourselves as an organization that tends assets. If you look at the way that we structure our time and our focus, and that causes one to be rather fiscally conservative. That's neither good nor bad. But it does affect the way that we think. And this policy is very conservatively constructed. And that could be a good thing in that we're being very careful, which we always have to do, about how to use tax revenue and use it effectively. But by being very conservative, sometimes you do miss the opportunity to be the kind of stimulus that is the core of our mission, which is the constant tension, I think, that a DDA has. I think that it's worth examining that when it comes to stimulation of business, that we do take a very conservative approach. Again, not that that's bad in and of itself, but I think we need to embrace that dynamic if that indeed is the direction that we take in setting a policy like like this.
It's been my experience of looking in the past, once we create policies like, energy grants or something like that, once we kind of lay down the rules of engagement, the people line up. And this is hopefully making it a lot easier. And 618 has unfortunately had to deal with the sausage making, but I have a feeling that being conservative up front and taking our time and being a little wishy-washy will allow us to be, very proactive with this, allowing this to happen. People will look at their projects differently if they believe that we can give them some consistency on how we can help.
This unmitigated optimism is completely out of character.
I'm close to graduate.
He's a changed person.
Yeah. We're going to Europe in 2 hours, so.
Congratulations. Other comments? Sandy, what do you don't want action on this? You just want it to go back to the committee next Wednesday?
Right. I think we will take the comments very seriously that we heard. I think it's good input, and we'll continue the discussion. Hopefully, having something that's finalized to bring to the board next month.
For June, great. It'd be nice to get it done. Okay, Joan, you doing the rest?
Yes, the next part, a little update on our Connecting William Street project. We are continuing and increasing our efforts to bring our scenarios to the public. These are going to be not exact building drawings, but more detailed kinds of drawings of what's possible on these lots. So we're calling them the scenarios, just to get a little glossary there, what I mean. And we're going to have something concrete to bring to the public in mid to late June. So the project team is continuing to hold focus group meetings and is finalizing the market analysis. Yesterday, Amber and Susan and I met with a group from the Parks Advisory Commission. It was very helpful in kind of helping us to form some of these ideas about open space that a lot of people are talking about. So those are the kinds of meetings that are going on. On May 16th, on Wednesday, our Leadership and Outreach Committee is going to hear these market analysis findings that are going to be shaping the scenario approach. Anybody's welcome to attend that. That meeting's at 2:30, Wednesday, May 16th. Then in early June, the group is going to reconvene and provide input to shape these scenarios based on survey feedback that we already have and the market information. So that meeting is going to be June 5th. And then in mid-June, our Leadership and Outreach Committee is going to meet again to review the refined scenarios and the public presentation. We're going to have a public presentation. It will launch via webinars and be presented at numerous group meetings. So that's June 20th. So we're really, throughout the month of June, moving ahead with having something to show people and get feedback. and that's what we had intended to do. So another note is that on May 17th, which is the day before the Bike Bash, at 5 p.m. the DDA is once again going to have a Concentrate Media joint program on, and that's going to be at Connor O'Neill's again. So 5 p.m. on the 17th, and this program is going to be centered on the economic development part and feature our land use economist who's been working with us on this project. So that should be another really interesting part for the people who are following along with this project. Anybody else? Anyone have any questions about it?
Questions, comments? And the next meeting is next Wednesday.
Yeah, May 16th. So it's not, let's see, that's not.
No, the
Partnership.
committee.
Oh, meeting of partnerships.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, partnerships is going to meet next Wednesday, 9 a.m.
Is there other DDA business? Susan?
I have a very short one. DDA members will notice at your place you've got a little Girl Scout patch. For years, the DDA has sponsored the Downtown Spring Cleanup, now called Downtown Blooms. We are creating a downtown urban-centric patch, so the Girl Scouts, as they come forth and plant flowers, will either be able to sew that on their sash or iron it on. And if you look closely, you'll see the DDA is actually hidden in the little patch.
What's the date again?
So we'll be downtown on Saturday. This is May 19th, the day after the Bike Bash. And we'll be at Liberty Plaza Park. And from there, we will go forth and clean up the downtown. Thank you.
We thought they were little drink coasters.
Oh,
Really?
the little ferry, yeah, put them near the ferry doors.
Ferry
Little, yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Some of us have bifocals, so we can see that.
Yeah. All right, everyone expected to have this ironed onto the lapel of your jacket.
I'm going to add it to my other Girl Scout patch.
Okay.
Other DDA business?
We have to swear not to give these to any Girl Scouts because they have to be earned.
That's right.
So I can't use them if I cookies.
Other DDA business? Okay, then we're now to the portion of the agenda where we have other audience participation. Is there anyone that would like to speak to the board?
If I can speak for the second time, I appreciate it. I would just like to respond to a couple comments that were made. Mayor John, one idea of funding something like a public plaza on top of the parking structure, which I know the city, a lot of people don't want to see because they need increased tax revenue. But if that was taken off the table and out of the equation, one idea that I thought of was probably, maybe just slicing the salami a little bit with the parking revenue, taking a fraction of 1% of what the revenues come in on that structure and help pay for something that goes on top, which many members of the community want to see. They want to see a public park. I think, you guys take a look at that survey that was done for the William Street Connector, and the vast majority of the write-ins on the comments were about a public plaza. Now, I ain't going to get up here and talk about it as much as others have, but when it comes to the funding, I think if you just took a fraction, 1/10 of 1% of the revenue that comes in on that structure, it would pay for what needs to be done on top if people wanted to have a public plaza. And then this, I don't want to be personal with this, John, but please refrain from using the word on schedule or schedule when it deals with the construction project on Fifth there. This thing is a year behind schedule. There's nothing on schedule about it. So it really undermines and discounts the credibility of yourself and the board when you use phrases like on schedule, because frankly it was supposed to be done August of 2011 if it was on schedule. And I respect the positions you guys all have, but it really undermines the credibility of this institution when people use language like that when it's completely false. So I appreciate the time and the opportunity you've given me to speak over these months and years. I hope to come and have the optimism Newcomb comes with next time. The project will be done, and I can go to work and actually hear something other than bulldozers. And then maybe I can come and be an asset to this board and the community and be more positive. But it's been a very difficult 4 years. Thank you, and have a good day.
Anyone else like to speak to us? Ed?
Edward Vilmetti again. I just wanted to address some of the planning for demand management for the structures, specifically the planning surrounding using differential pricing to help guide people to the right place. Some people, when they pick a choice of parking structures, really don't have much of a choice. They find the one that they can find, and they pay whatever price they pay, and they really don't know very much about what their alternatives are. And that's true both for street parking. People don't necessarily know what the rates are when they go up to a meter or a non-meter. That's true for permit parking, where people are sort of fixed by where they are, what they can do. One of the things that can be improved, however, without building new buildings, without digging new holes, without inconveniencing downtown businesses, is to improve the flow of information about the parking system, to make it more transparent, make it more clear what's going on, make it more visible in real time how the system is working and where people are parking. The reporting that comes out of this august body often comes out in the form of pronouncements saying that the system is at full capacity. Yet we also heard that parts of the system were not at full capacity. So there's some even internal I don't want to use the word misinformation, but incomplete information about where the system is. And I've also heard it said that there really isn't a parking shortage in Ann Arbor. There's a walking shortage. If people knew that they had outlying neighborhoods that they could park in and walk from, and were willing to walk the 3 or 4 pleasant blocks from surrounding streets, and were willing to limit their time downtown to parking on alternate sides of the street, that there would be plenty of spaces for anyone who wanted to come, as long as they were willing to make a quarter-mile walk. So I'd encourage the system to, as it considers the full range of how do we get downtown, to not narrowly say, revenues are up but structures are full, let's increase rates, but also apply some of that resources towards, hey, we have a lot of resources for getting people downtown. Let's provide as much information as we can for people who want to get here, both about where all the parking is and what the current state of the system is, so that people can make an informed choice, especially when they're coming from far away, so that they can say, oh, I'm coming up 23, oh, I should get off here, oh, my first choice is this, my second choice is that, my third choice is this. And they might be able to know that just by tuning in or planning ahead. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to the board? Okay, seeing none, will someone move adjournment?
Move adjourned.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.